And Stacy Collins.
Welcome back. We are talking about, we're really asking the question, mission accomplished? Is it accomplished? How do you know? How do you track that? So welcome back. If you've got a story you wanted to share about what's been happening in your ministry, what you've learned by looking at your own numbers, how you track, what tips you might have for others, we would love to hear from you. So Stacy, what's the number people can call in?
Yeah, give us a call. We're at 816-251-3555. We'd love to hear your tips or questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're just talking about the importance of tracking the things that let you know that you are accomplishing the things that you intend to accomplish. If you are a mission-driven organization, if you are asking people to give, we talked about this on our money episode, if you're asking people to give to your mission, how are you letting those people know that their funds are being used successfully, that you are having the impact that you have set out to create? So we're going to walk through that whole, we talked about the engagement strategy process and all the different stages. What I'd like to share with you next is some things to think about. Ask yourself, is this something we already track? Or is this something that would be helpful for us to track? So when I work with organizations to create what we call an engagement strategy plan, one of the things that we do is we outline for every step of this engagement process, we call it the step model. For every step of it, we look at, what is the goal at this step, and how do you know that you have accomplished that goal? And the overarching strategy is around fulfilling the mission. So I'm going to break it down by step and just share some things to look for. And then Stacy, if you have any scenarios from Unity of Houston that you'd like to share on how you do that, or some things that maybe you've changed, because I know a lot has changed since because COVID. Because COVID. So maybe your metrics have given you some numbers that have caused some changes, and maybe some of those changes will actually stick around long after COVID is a distant memory. Hopefully, that won't be too long. So the first thing, we talked about, the first step is to reach those explorers. So the first metric that I would ask, are you tracking how many new people walk in your doors? And by doors, I could mean your sanctuary, or I could mean your virtual doors to your live stream, or I could mean your group leaders' doors to their homes or their offices or their Zoom rooms. So how many new people who previously had never walked into your door, who don't know who you are, what you teach, how many new people are coming to check you out? And that is, that's an important metric to know. It's like, okay, and then how did you hear about us? Did you hear about us? Are you here because you saw it on Facebook? Are you here because, for most, I would say, in my experience, most of the people who walk through the doors of our organization, especially in our spirit groups, they would say, I'm here because a friend invited me. I'm here because I got invited by somebody that I know who thought that I would like it. What do you find? Because I know you asked that question too, Stacy, when you ask, how did you hear about us? What have you noticed in your responses lately?
Yes, we get a lot of, a friend invited me, and
Yes.
I love that, of course. We also get, I was internet shopping, and so the interesting thing is sometimes they're looking for a church online, and so they're just doing a Google search, and they find you. So that's another reason. You had a great tip a couple of weeks ago when you put your content online, your talks, whatever, put the link to your visitor card in the description of that, because people are finding that through the week. I had 2 little visitor cards pop up today in my email inbox. Yes, so I don't know what exactly prompted those, but they must have watched a talk or whatever, or found it on the homepage of our website. That's another good place for your visitor card. So people are finding us in all kinds of interesting ways, and you'll start to see some trends there on how people are finding.
Well, yeah. So that's not only, how many new people are finding you, but how are they finding you, and we talked about the channels that you use to reach people, whether it's word of mouth or social media or your website, whatever that thing is. So if you are tracking, 50% of our people are finding us through word of mouth, then what can you do to celebrate the people that are inviting friends? So what are the things you can do to take what's working and put more energy into it? Or I love this, what are the things that you're doing that you're doing it and spending a lot of time and energy and money sometimes, but nobody is finding you that way? If you're doing a YouTube channel and nobody says, "Hey, I saw you on YouTube," then maybe you check out your Facebook presence instead. So the numbers are really helpful to make sure that you are reaching new people and that you're finding out how did you find out about us. So that would be the first metric, and that's all around that first step of just getting people in the door, even if it's your virtual door or your small group door. So the next stage of the engagement strategy, we have our explorers, and the next step is we want them to engage. So this is a really significant metric, which is how many people, when they're new, fill out that contact card. And it could be that they are new to your website. Like you just said, Stacy, is like they go to your website, they watch, maybe the minister has a sermon on the website, and it's like, hey, if you like this, put in your email address to get our new member welcome kit, or our information kit, our visitor welcome kit, and they put in their email address. How many people are actually taking that next step and giving you that information? Because that shows that they are giving you permission to reach out to them. So that's a level of engagement that goes beyond just, lurking or sitting in the back pew and, and saying, I don't know, I'm not really bought in. I'm just checking it out. But when I give you my contact information, that indicates that they've taken a step in consciousness, that they've taken that leap. And we've talked about this a little bit, but I know, typically we have visitor cards and come to the front of the room and get a gift and all that kind of stuff in the Sunday service. But Stacy, just as a reminder, what are some of the things that you've been doing to encourage people to reach out and share their contact information online?
Yeah, so we, during the service, we definitely put it in the chat. And when they fill that out, we let them know, fill it out so we can keep in contact with you. And then they receive a follow-up email and a handwritten card. We space those out, just thanking them for being a part of our community and letting them know that our live streamers are in fact a part of the community and that their presence is highly valued, and that they're here with us, and so just to let them know that everything that we do, they are invited to participate in, just as if they were, living in Houston and coming to church on Sunday.
Love it. So if you go back to that episode where we talked about welcoming your newcomers, we talk about the whole process of that, of, what is your onboarding process and where do you want to lead them? Typically, I would say an onboarding process will either lead people to a membership class or a small group, because that's where you can get them into the next stage, which is expanding their understanding of who you are and what you're about. So that would be the next metric. The next metric is all around that expand stage, helping people expand their understanding of who you are and what you're about. So I would say, are you tracking how many people, once they give you their contact information, how many of those people are showing up in a small group? How many of them are showing up in your membership class? Like, are people following those steps to go from one stage to the next? So that's a great thing to look at, is not only are they doing it, but how long did it take them to do it? And I think as you start doing this, you start to identify where the gaps are. It suddenly becomes less of a mystery of why aren't we growing? You'll see like, oh, well, there's a gap between this step and that step. And if we can just fill that gap, now people can continue on their journey much more easily. So it really is helping you serve people more powerfully. So I would say, in terms of expanding, there's so many things we get into. Like, you teach them through the small groups, you teach them through the Sunday service, through the virtual services, through your membership classes. And then, this is where it gets juicy, because after expand, then the next step is expressing. And express is all about, is your mission being expressed? Are your teachings being expressed in a way that brings your mission to life? So these are very key things to track. So I would say, of this, we talked about membership. So of the people who attend your membership class, what percentage sign up and join? That's a good number. How many new members do you have each month? And that could be a good metric to track. What percentage of your members volunteer? We talked about service last week. So what percentage of your members are actually volunteering in some capacity, whether it's as a group leader or a board member or an usher on Sunday morning or in your youth program? What percentage of your members volunteer? What percentage of your members give? So I'm not talking about like the amount, but what percentage of your members give something? They give something of their financial resources to support your mission. That's really good information to track. What percentage of your membership, Stacy, you talked about this, what percentage of your membership is engaged in a small group? This is a really key indicator of the health of a mission-driven organization, because small groups is where we cultivate leadership, other mission-driven leaders. So do you want to talk about that for you, Stacy, in terms of tracking that, what percentage of your membership is actually engaged in a small group?
Yeah, so that's, again, we have our Group Vital software that can help us with that, but especially, and it helps you know when to focus too, because now we've talked about this in some of the other episodes. Fall is such a great time to launch a powerful series, to launch a Spirit Groups program, and say, everybody come on and join. Everybody can be, I love it. Reverend Michael gets up there and he says, we want everybody to be in a Spirit Group right now. So we're in the process of this fall seeing, and you can see that it's very interesting. You have some people that have only joined you live stream or online, but they're able to join you in a small group, and as well as the people that meet physically. So you can kind of take those numbers of your live stream and your in-person attendees and combine those and get and then compare that with the percentage of people into small groups, especially when you're offering online. And so, yeah.
I love that. It's great to be able to set that intent. And I will share that I've been with a ministry where we set the intent of 100% engagement. And by that, what we meant was we set the intention that we would have as many people participating in our mission through small groups as we did attending our Sunday service. That's to us, that was 100% engagement. Was if we've got 100 people coming on Sunday, then we've got 100 people engaged in small groups, and that was the goal. We actually got to 110% engagement, meaning that we had more people attending our ministry services through small groups than we did on Sunday morning. And we celebrate that. I think sometimes people are like, oh, I want Sunday morning to be the thing, but it doesn't matter if we're not ego attached to it has to be Sunday morning, but we're instead attached to the mission, and that we're reaching people and that we're serving people and helping people connect and learn and grow. When we're attached to the mission and not to the messenger message, then it's a different experience, and we can really celebrate that. So that was a metric that we set. It was a goal that we set, and it's really fun to be able to set those goals, to have the measurements, and then to be able to celebrate the growth and progress along the way. I think the other thing that I love about having intentions like that is that it does give us something. We talk about the power of our thoughts to create reality. And we talk about the importance of focusing and being clear on what we're trying to accomplish, and setting those goals is a way of doing that. And I think it also is a great way of celebrating the growth of our community, and being able to, at the end of every small group series, we would bring the groups up and we would celebrate, it's like, okay, we had everybody engaged. We want to celebrate every person that, that participated. And we found ways to celebrate and acknowledge that. We're actually going to do a whole nother episode just on acknowledgement and celebration. But it's really fun to be working on setting intents together as a community based on your mission, because then everybody knows how to help. Everybody knows, like, oh, any person that I can invite to a small group is a win for the whole ministry. Any person I invite to a Sunday service, it's a win for the whole ministry. So those are some things that I'd suggest. Do you have anything else that you think of, Stacey, that you track that has been especially helpful for you?
Yeah, so one of the things beginning last year is we had our first virtual new member class. And what was really exciting in there is we began to track, funnily, sounds funny, but there's a reason for it, people's addresses, people's zip codes. And the reason for that is because we had 50% of our new member class was non-local to Houston, was from out of state. And so that was really helpful information. Not only was it just plain kind of cool to have people joining the church that had never stepped foot in it and feel very engaged enough to do so.
Yeah.
And it was through their small groups for the most part. That's how they found Unity of Houston. But the other piece was that it's kind of letting us know, and we see this in our visitor cards too, that a lot of our attendance now is online, and some of it are people that live locally and prefer that method, or until, the pandemic, they feel a little more safe.
Mm-hmm.
Or people are just finding us, and not just finding us and watching us for fun. They're engaging. They want to be members. They want to be participants in this thing that we have here, partners, in this community. So that's been very valuable for us to track that.
Well, and that is part of the mission being expressed, right? Is that it's not just someone up front giving a great message or a great music team, that it is people wanting to partner, wanting to be, as Charles Fillmore said, be co-workers in bringing the mission to life, wanting to do what they can with their gifts and their strengths and their skills to not just be recipients of that upliftment, but to be proactively helping to uplift others as well. So that's super, super exciting. All right. So I want to share just some tips on, we've talked about some ideas for things to measure, why to measure them. I just want to share a couple best practices, and Stacey, you can jump in too, as you have some of your own tips as well. One of the first tips that I would have in terms of tracking is to track year over year versus month over month. And I share that because every now and then, ministry is seasonal. Any kind of mission-driven organization, just about any mission-driven organization, you're going to have seasons where it's like, okay, there's Christmas where maybe you have a lot of people show up, or maybe summer where typically attendance goes down, or you have these cycles where if you just compare this month to last month, it may seem like, oh, wow, we're really growing. But really, it's like, oh, it was Easter. We're always, we always have a big crowd at Easter. Or maybe you look at it and like, oh my gosh, it's like really in decline. But if you look at it year after year, it's like, okay, well, this is always a time of year where, the snowbirds leave, or, whatever happens. And I think if you can compare your numbers and be consistent with it enough so that you can track year over year, you can see some trends that you might not see any other way. You can see, are you declining year after year? Are you plateauing, or are you growing? And do you know, and can you tell? So those are all really important questions to be able to answer. We've talked about using Group Vitals, just an amazing tool to be able to track without having to overload and bog down your senior team with a bunch of administrative logistical things. Group Vital is so much easier than spreadsheets. Just got to say, it's so much easier. Have some kind of software for your membership engagement. And then my final tip is these metrics are so valuable for when you communicate with your community how your mission is being fulfilled. So when you're up there saying you're giving to this mission, you're giving to transformation, you're giving to people's lives improving, to be able to say, what does that mean? That means that people have joined a small group. That means that we've done community service projects. That means that we've volunteered so many hours in our community. That means that we've contributed so much to causes in our community. Like, what are the things that express what you are as a community doing as the expression of your mission? I would suggest track all year long, track. And then at the end of the year, the end of the year, when you send those giving letters, you say, thank you for your contribution this year. The best phrase I've ever seen in a contribution letter is, because of you. Because of your giving, because of your volunteering, because of your participation, because of your engagement, this is what we have been able to do because of you. We have trained so many new group leaders. We have launched so many new groups that have served people all over. We have grown our membership. We have grown our youth program. We have served this many community organizations, done this many service projects. When people can equate their giving and their service to what you are able to do as a whole, it encourages them to do more. It does it. It lights a fire and it inspires them to do more and more. So those are my best tips. What are your thoughts, Stacy?
Yeah, I love what you're just saying. And I've seen that in the small groups too, because we've talked about that each small group is really great if they can do a service project together in each series. And when they do that, and I'm explaining to the new host and things like, oh, okay, we do a service project. It doesn't have to be anything huge, da, da, da. And then I start sharing, well, last season we had this happen and this happened and this happened. And when they see the big picture of when all of the groups do this and when everyone's engaged and they're a part of something amazing happening and a community that's at work in so many different beautiful ways, and that they're a part of it, it just really takes things to the next level. It creates pride, it creates ownership, and just in a real sense of engagement and accomplishment.
Yeah, if you know what those key performance indicators, if you know what those things are that let you know, yes, that's our mission. That's our mission come to life. That's a new group leader. That's a new group. That's a new member. That's a new way that we've served our community. If you know what those look like and you can capture those moments, you take a picture of your screenshot when you have your online new member class. You take a picture of your small groups when they're doing service projects. And then at the end of the year, you have this, you have the numbers, but you've got the faces that go with the numbers. And when you can put that together in a way where people get it, that, and even throughout the year, not just end of the year letter is great for this, but throughout the year, to be able to point to the things that you're doing and say, see, that's what our mission looks like. That's what our mission looks like. That's what our mission looks like. And it's all things that you're tracking. So I love that. I love that. Love that. And it's great, to be collecting those photos and put together those montages at the end of the year or at the end of every small group series to be able to say, these are the service projects, these are the social outings, these are the connections that were made, these are the ahas, the learning, this is what's happening in our community because of you. So I love that. So the challenge for this week, as we kind of wrap up this week of expressing your mission, is first to identify, if you haven't already, identify what are the mission critical things for your organization to track. So that's number one. Like, what should you be tracking? And are you tracking those things? Do you need to start tracking some new things? Step two is to determine what technology you're going to use for that tracking. So how are you going to do it? And are you going to use an online system? Are you going to use a spreadsheet? What's your system? Who's going to do it? Who's tracking and how do you get that information in the right place? And then finally, third is to set up your accountability system. So who is it that's going to report out on these numbers, and how do you make sure that the whole team is aware of the numbers so that you can make adjustments as necessary and that you can celebrate the wins along the way. So that's the challenge. And as we wrap up, I know this is a big time of the year for small groups. It is, for us, it's week 1 of our fall group series, which means we're launching into new content. Stacy, what are you doing now to grow and train and support your small groups program?
Yes, so we are too. We are in our week 0, which is our meet and greet week. And so next week's our content, and we have people signing up for groups and just reaching out to those visitors. This is another great idea, to go back through your visitor cards and let them know when you're having a new series, when your next small group series is launching, and invite them. And if you could and you had a capable leader, to have a new to Unity small group. We've had a lot of success with that as well. So just engage, let people know about it, and invite them just to even try it on.
I love it. Yeah, this is the time. And the great thing, so the structure that we use, and we've talked about this in previous episodes as well, but the structure we use is we have this week 0 kickoff week, and then we have week 1 where the content starts. We talked about last week having preview events. So week 0 is the preview. Week 1 is when it begins. And what that does is it actually gives you multiple weeks to be bringing people into your small groups. So first it's, hey, sign up, they're coming, groups are coming, groups are coming, sign up. So we have a couple weeks of that. And then it's like, oh my gosh, they're starting, find your group, get in. And that's week 0 where people are checking it out. But then the next week you're able to say, oh my gosh, if you weren't there, oh my gosh, don't miss out. FOMO, fear of missing out. Don't miss out, because you can still get engaged in a group. Week 1 is next week. So it extends the amount of time that you can promote and encourage people to find a group and to join a group. And the other reason we do that is so that you're not recruiting all year long. So it is something that is fun and exciting, and like, this is what everybody's doing right now. And then once you get into the content, away you go. And how much fun is that? So that's some things to be doing. I also suggest, if you are new to small groups and you're listening to this thinking, okay, I'm taking some notes, how do we do this? Huddles. Have huddles every week. Huddles are particularly for your new group leaders to be touching base each week and saying, how did it go? Here's what's coming up. Hold those hands and support those leaders to have a fabulous, successful experience. Have you been huddling up with your new?
Oh, we've been huddling up, and now we have a 2 huddle option. They can meet me at the welcome table, before church, and then we have a Zoom option too. And it's just so great to be able to connect with hosts and to just support them. Like you said, you really want your small group host to feel supported. So it's wonderful.
I love it. So huddle up, cuddle up, huddle up. Join us next time. We're going to talk more about building for strength, building for scale next week, right here on The Leading Edge. See you next time.
All right, great job.